This is the first part of lesson 3.2 on page 99 of your workbook. And we are going to do some more factoring, and this time specifically with binomial common factors. So I just want to show you a thing. If I had 4x times y minus 3y, and I asked you to factor that, I'm hoping you would see that I've got a y there and a y there, so I can factor the y out. So this is going to be y times 4x plus 4x minus 3. Okay, I factored out the y. Can you see that? Okay, so we're going to look down here, and this is it's the same thing, but it looks much scarier because this time our common factor, instead of being y, is x plus 7. But that's okay. I'm just going to factor out the x plus 7. I'm going to put that out in front here. And then what I'm left with is, just like I had up here, it's 4x minus 3. Okay? So there's my x plus 7. And then in this one, I've got a common factor of 3 minus 2y. So when I factor this, I'm going to have 3 minus 2y. I have to put that in brackets, of course, and then times 7 plus 2y. That's what's left. I have to put it in brackets because if I didn't have brackets, it would be 3 minus 2y times 7 plus 2y. And that's not going to work. If I multiply that out, it's not going to get me what I started with. Okay? And again, this is more of the same. We just have the 4a plus 1 as our common factor. So this is going to be 4a plus 1 times 9a. And I have to put a plus 1 because remember there's a coefficient of 1 here. So this is going to be 9a plus that 1. Okay, and I can check it by multiplying it out. And then I'd have to actually multiply this one out as well and simplify it to make sure they're the same, but that would be the process. Okay, example 2, factor the following and write the answer in simplest factored form. So my common factor this time is 3y plus 2. So I'm going to write 3y plus 2. And whether I put this first or last doesn't matter at all. But what I'm left with now is 5y plus 1. I'm just going to put that in brackets. Plus 4y. I have both of those things. So I just put them in brackets, so maybe I'll even color them so you can see that the 5y plus 1 came from here and the 4y came from here. Okay, that's what's left over. And then I can simplify that part. I've still got the 3y plus 2. That's not going to change. But I can simplify this. 5y plus 4y is 9y plus 1. Okay. Similar here. I've got a minus 6 times 3a minus 9. But I can factor a 3 out of that. So I get a minus 6 times 3 times a minus 3. And then I want to move the 3 out front because our convention is that that's where we put it, and a minus 6 and a minus 3. Doesn't matter if I go a minus 6 or a minus 3 first. That's just fine. Okay? All right. Example C. This time, my common factor isn't actually the same. I've got x minus 5 and 5 minus x. And they're not the same thing, but I can make them the same thing. So I'm going to write this out as 2x times x minus 5. I'm not going to change that. And then plus 5 times minus 1 times minus 1 times 5 minus x. So all I've done here, I'm just trying to erase that line. There we go. Okay. Negative 1 times negative 1 is just 1. So I've just stuck a 1 in the middle here. But I need it in the form of negative 1 times negative 1 because what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 5 times negative 1 here. And I'm going to multiply this negative 1 by the 5 minus x. Okay, so I still have 2x times x minus 5. I don't want to multiply that out because I'm trying to factor this, so that wouldn't be helpful. And then I've got negative 1 times 5, so I've got minus 5. And then brackets, negative 1 times 5 is minus 5. And negative 1 times negative x is plus x. Okay, and negative 5 plus x is the same as x minus 5. I just don't have time to write that in there, but I can factor that out now. I've got x minus 5 times 2x minus 5. And I can color these because those are actually the same. Those are the equal. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing in this example here. I'm going to rewrite it. This is 20x times x minus 3 minus 4 times minus 1 times minus 1 times 3 minus x. Okay, so I just stuck a 1 in the middle there, and I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to multiply. I'm going to combine those two, and I'm going to combine those two. So I have 20x times x minus 3 minus 1 times minus 4 is plus 4, and then negative 1 times that is going to be, I'm just going to flip it around. That's just going to be x minus 3. We're going to do that enough times that you're just going to know that negative 1 times 3 minus x is x minus 3. You're just going to know that at some point. Okay, and now I can factor this because I've got a common factor here. Okay, so this is going to be x minus 3 times 20x plus 4. And I'm not actually finished because I can factor a 4 out of here. So that's x minus 3 times 4 times 5x plus 1. And then I'm going to rearrange that because I want the 4 out front. That is where it belongs. So it's 4 times x minus 3 times 5x plus 1. And there's my answer. Okay. I could have factored the 4 out earlier, and I could have actually factored the 3 out earlier here. I intentionally didn't do that because then I've got more brackets that I have to keep track of, and I didn't want to do that, so I didn't. Okay. It can be done though. All right, a couple more examples, and we're actually going to end the lesson here. The next page we're not going to do. You can omit this. I will fill it in and put it online if you're interested. You can do the practice if you want, but I won't be testing on this section at all. Okay, but I will on this piece. So factoring by grouping. So this is I've got 4 terms and I don't have any common factors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor these first 2. So I've got a common factor of x. So that's going to be x times x plus 3. And then I can factor a 6 out of this. So that's going to be plus 6 times x plus 3. And then look, I've got a common factor here. Okay, so now I've got x plus 3 times x plus 6. Now, this isn't going to happen a lot in the wild. You're not going to come across this often, but in just a random grouping of 4 terms. But we are going to use this a lot in something that we're going to be doing in, I think, the next lesson. Okay, when we're factoring a polynomial that's got a coefficient of the x squared term has got a coefficient of something other than 1. We use this all the time, but don't worry about that today. Today, we're just going to look at these and factor out the common factors that we can see. So if I look at these first 2, I've got 2x times 4x minus 1 plus 3 times 4x minus 1, which means I have 4x minus 1 times 2x plus 3. And here I've got 4a times a minus 1, nope, 2a minus 1, sorry, minus And I'm going to do a minus because if I factor out a positive thing, I'm going to have a negative inside my brackets. Just trust me for now. You want to factor out a negative. If this sign is negative, I'm just thinking, is that always true? I think that is always true. And I can factor out a -5, and that leaves me with a 2a minus 1, which is the same as what I had over here. So I have 2a minus 1 times 4a minus 5. Here I've got 3a times 2a minus 3 minus, what can I factor out there? Nothing except a 1. So I can factor out a -1, leaving me with 2a minus 3, making these two the same. So I've got 2a minus 3 times 3a minus 1. Here we've got just letters, so I can factor out a p. I've got p times q plus r minus s times q plus r because I'm factoring out the negative s. So I have q plus r times p minus s. Okay. Now this one is a little bit more complicated because if I look at these two, there's no common factors there at all. And here, the only common factor I have is x. But I do notice that, let's see, these both have y squareds. These both have x's. And 18 is 3 times 6, and 15 is 3 times 5. So maybe if I group them, with 5x squared minus 6x minus 15xy squared plus 18y squared, that might factor nicely. Let's try it. I've got here the common factor I have is just x times 5x minus 6. And here I've got a y squared, but I've also got a -3. So I can factor out -3y squared times, I'm left with 3x, nope, 5x, sorry. 5x minus 6. Sorry, I'm getting tired. Minus 6. There we go. 5x minus 6 on both, which is what I was expecting to have. So now I've got 5x minus 6 times x minus 3y squared. Okay, and that's that. And as I said, so you go do questions 2 to 4, but you don't need to do questions 5. Well, actually, let me just double check that. Yeah, you don't need to do anything in 5 to 14. So that's awesome. Actually, that's not quite right. I'm going to get you to do questions 2 to 4 and number 10 and number 12 and 13 and 14. Okay, because those don't involve the fractions that the next section does. Okay, all right, that's it. Go do the practice and I'll see you in class. Bye.